Resistance is futile.
Boldly going where no show has gone before. This is The Week in Geek with David D. Squared, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. Broadcasting from the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, here's D. Squared.
Greetings, people of Earth! This is The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I am your host, D Squared. All right, let me lay out the show for you tonight. We got a great one in store for you. We got some top nerd news. We're going to talk about the Book of Din Din Djarin, or Boba Fett, whichever they're calling it these days. But we have two guests tonight. Greg Brennecka, author of Impact, How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. So we're going to talk to Greg Brennecka later on in tonight's show, and then we'll wrap it up with none other than the lovely, the beautiful, the amazing, and the ballsy Gina Gershon. Oh my gosh. Like, I got to talk to her, and I had to bleep her twice, man. She's feisty. I love it. She was awesome. Fun interview. So that's all coming up on tonight's show. But first, let's do this. And now, your top nerd news stories from around the world, brought to you by the Viridian Tea Company. Find them on Etsy. And now, your top nerd news stories. All right, so topping us off tonight. So the director of Moonfall, Roland Emmerich, you remember him? He did, Independence Day. Apparently, he's still got some beef with Marvel and DC, and he says superheroes are just ruining the industry. Ruining, I say. But before I get too down and out and hard on Roland Emmerich on this statement, he's already stated before that he just finds them to be a snooze fest. He doesn't enjoy it, and that they're not doing anything original. Okay, look, it's easy to jump on this guy and be like, all right, you're just being an old curmudgeon, you're jealous, etc. But they've been putting out some things that, as evidence. One of them, The Last Duel, that had Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and your boy Kylo Ren, who's Adam Driver. I love period pieces. I watched the movie. It was a good movie, except for Ben Affleck, who basically played himself pretending to be a French noble. The movie was actually really good, but it was, it was okay, really good. It was okay. It was a fun little movie, but it was, I don't know, man. The acting was subpar. I give Matt Damon was balls out. Adam Driver really nailed his part. But Ben Affleck really brought the whole thing down because he wasn't playing a character. He was just drunk Ben Affleck. He's like, I'm a noble. Look, I'm having a three-way with these wenches, and I'm not joking. Like, every time you saw Ben Affleck, it was either drunk or having sex, okay? That's what it was. So, the other one was Spielberg's West Side Story. Maria, when you're a jet, look, I like me some West Side Story. Y'all know I was a music major. I'm a jaded music major. But these are the offerings. A reboot and a period piece where the acting was a little subpar. Now, Roland Emmerich, the king of disaster films. Yeah, look, Independence Day, great flick. But here's the thing. He's complaining that, it's the Marvel, DC Comics, and Star Wars have pretty much taken over. It's ruining our industry a little bit because nobody does anything original anymore. Okay, let's dissect this a little bit, because this is the king of disaster films. Why did people like disaster films, you ask? Well, because it was something that was out of the ordinary. It wasn't something they saw every day, or if they saw it on the news. But, then there was this morbid sense of oh, who's going to die, yada, yada. But the key word here is familiarity. They were familiar with the genre. They understood the genre of disaster films. A horrible disaster would take place. People would try to survive. You might lose a few along the way. But at the end of the day, a couple of them might survive and carry on the family gene or whatever the hell they're doing. It's familiarity. So when you look at DC and Marvel and you look at Star Wars, there's a level of familiarity there where that the heroes are going to get, something bad is going to happen, and they're going to have to fight through and persevere and do what superheroes do. It's the same thing. Now, looking at his new movie, Roland Emmerich's new movie, Moonfall, which is basically the moon's alive or something's living in the moon, and it comes to eat us. Okay, great. The moon's falling on our heads. Okay. And so, look, maybe your premise, your movie, is not all that appealing, and you're struggling to get movies made because we've seen it before. It's a new twist on an old thing, and there's nothing really that exciting about it. You're bringing in some actors that are, supposed to be box office draws. Okay. Well, you know what? Sure. People who might be burnt out or do not like comic book movies, and there's a lot of them out there, and it's okay. If it ain't your bag, it ain't your bag. But for other directors to constantly keep harping about how, they're ruining the industry, they're not helping, well, turn around that mirror, man. Take a look at it yourself. What are you offering? All right? What are you offering except some of the same old stuff you've been doing for 2 decades? Well, now finally, instead of having to use practical effects and dropping cars and on top of cars in Independence Day, now you can CGI the crap out of it. So good on you. Now it's easier to make your disaster film because it's the groundwork's already been laid. I don't know why I get a little feisty about this, but I think I was more upset, and I don't want to jump on Roland Emmerich because he makes a few valid points where there are other movies out there that people want to see. Okay, and maybe it's a little harder to make them because right now the people know what they want, and right now they want these popcorn movies with superheroes in them. It's the new disaster flick genre where you had, Towering Inferno, the Poseidon, not Poseidon Adventure, but you know what I'm talking about. Like the ship sinking, it flipped over. Oh, we gotta get out. Okay, it's all the same stuff. Now it's just somebody else's turn. So get off your high horse and keep making your movies. And when it's your turn to come back into the light, you'll have it. It'll be there. Now, let's talk about Netflix and the new genre of reboot. Reboots. Reboots? Don't talk to me about reboots.
Reboots? Reboots?
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about reboots.
Now, this is not a reboot. This is a direct sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this is coming out on Netflix on February 18th. Take a listen to this.
So Harlow is a ghost town.
We have a vision for this place. All it needs is young blood.
I don't want to live here. This is a chance for people to start fresh somewhere.
Young blood in a horror movie.
Hey guys, you should see this.
What are you doing in our house? You really shouldn't be here.
Let me just stop it right here for a second. If there's a creepy town where nobody lives into it, and you're walking into houses, look, you get what you ask for. So let's keep going because this is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the heavy breathing you hear is the one, the only Leatherface.
This is Hardesty.
Sally, I'm afraid your old friend's back.
That is the girl from the original movie. Now, it's not that the actress passed away, but they are bringing back in a direct sequel 50 years later, the heroine from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
50 years I've been waiting for this night. Just to see him again.
Who?
Leatherface.
This looks great, though. Creepy vibes.
That he wants.
I'm not gonna let him kill you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You're no evil. You're no evil.
Now, before we get to this last part, I want to set it up because, look, when you go back in the 70s for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, back then it was those dirty hippies that were, just tooling around the country in their VW bugs and their little vans, and just spreading free love and everything all over the place. Well, now, what do we have? We've got these millennials and these damn hipsters. So, substitute hippie for hipsters and social media. And the best part is, in this next clip, when the guy's holding up his phone and you hear all the shutters click, 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 you see the back of this guy's phone and he's doing like a live Instagram feed, like he's doing a Reels, and this is just beyond awesome.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
Cancel, bro. Oh. Ah! Mass hysteria. They're all dead. They all get chopped up by Leatherface in this giant van. Now, this is the interesting part. That this is a continuation. It's ignoring all the other, sequels and prequels and all these things. In essence, Leatherface took off his leather face and just went into obscurity for 50 years. And apparently he turned over a new leaf. He wasn't mass slaughtering people anymore. He put his chainsaw away in the closet. I don't know, maybe he was a butcher. He probably had good skills for that. But apparently a bunch of millennials and hipsters show up in his town, and he just, pops off on them. So this actually looks really good. And you don't really have to go watch the original to get it, but it is interesting because when I first saw it and they're bringing back the original heroine from the first movie, I started thinking like Jamie Lee Curtis, because it's just like, with Halloween, they brought all that back. They kept bringing, all these, not celebrities, but, these characters. Now they got a new lease on life, and they are going to try to flip the table. So does she get the best of Leatherface? Well, I guess, you know what? Now we're going to have to watch and find out. All right, before we go to break, let's do this. Or should I play the klaxon? I'm not sure. Spoiler alerts for the book of Din Djarin. The book of Boba Fett. We now have had 2 episodes of nothing but Mando. Boba Fett didn't even show up in the last episode, and then this most recent episode, he only made a cameo. And here's the clincher. There's only 1 episode left, y'all. We only got 1 episode left. So what's going to happen? I don't know. I wanted him to ride the Rancor, but we don't know what's been going on there. I think that, here's the thing. I talked about it with Scungy last week or the week before, where they wanted to make this, but they only had the kernel or a nugget of an idea. We only have 6 episodes, and 2 of them have been used up by the Mandalorian. So I'm curious as to what happens, because now you got the Mandalorian who's been kicked out of the Mandalorians, and you got Boba Fett who's not really a Mandalorian, and I think they had these kernels of ideas, and they're trying to mush them all together, and I'm curious as to what the plan is, because they didn't really have an entire story flushed out. I truly believe this. I think they really wanted to make this because they're super fans. Filoni, they are super fans, and they wanted to make this because it would be awesome, and they wanted to make it, and I'm all about that. But I don't think they had their ideas completely fleshed out. We've got 1 more episode. I don't know what the heck they can possibly do except, maybe give us another cliffhanger. But we did get some resolution and another cliffhanger in the last episode. So here, let me do the klaxon. Here we go. Oh, hey, Mando's still playing. Here we go. All right. Super spoiler for the Book of Boba Fett, the latest episode. You've got Luke Skywalker shows back up, played by Luke Hamill. You got Ahsoka Tano shows up, played by Rosario Dawson. And then you got little old Grogu showing up. And the thing that I found the best was Luke Skywalker, putting Grogu in a backpack and carrying him around. All I could think was, you can be my backpack while you climb, just run and jump. You know what song I'm talking about. So the crazy part, though, is that at the end of the episode, Grogu's given a choice. You can have Master Yoda's lightsaber or this sweet-ass chainmail made from Beskar by the Mandalorian armorer. You gotta choose. If you choose the lightsaber, you stay here and become my first student at Skywalker Academy. Or if you take that chainmail, I guess you become a kick-ass bounty hunter who has the force powers and chainmail armor that deflects blasters and lightsabers. You'll be the best bounty hunter ever. Which one does he pick? Well, for story purposes, he's going to have to pick the chainmail because if he stays there, he's going to get killed by Kylo Ren, Ben Solo. So get him off of that planet, get him away from that school, and then we don't have to keep bringing back poor Mark Hamill, even though I love every time I see Mark Hamill. It's great. But the story dictates that the Mandalorian be hooked up with his little buddy Grogu, and he's going to show him the ropes on how to be a bounty hunter. And oh my God, will that be awesome? Anything else I got to say? I don't think so. All right. We got 3 episodes of Peacemaker left. I haven't watched it this week, so I can't spoil it for you. So there's that. But I'll spoil it next week because next week we got the final episode of the Book of Boba Fett. But we got 2 more episodes of Peacemaker. All right, coming up next, we got our boy Scungy with his pick of the week. Pika Pika! There's your hint. So, coming up next, Scungy's pick of the week, we have Greg Brennecka, author of Impact, How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. What's going up must come down. Then we'll wrap it all up with Gina Gershon, her new movie, Rifkin's Festival, out now. This is The Week in Geek with D Squared on iHeartRadio. Box tea again? Why don't you try the tea blends from the Viridian Tea Company? They sell blends that are guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With blends like Quantum Mechanics, Caligula's Herbal Nerve Tonic, and Manta Ray Dreaming, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop at 432 North Anthony Street or online at Etsy at the Viridian Tea Company. So put down the box and order some tea from the Viridian Tea Company today. Sincerely, your taste buds.
And from the Storm, fanzine highlights Black female characters in comics and sci-fi. The fanzine is for and by Black women, featuring original artwork, interviews, and cultural criticism. As Black women fans, we have unique perspectives that are often silenced and discouraged in mainstream outlets. In From the Storm is a shelter from the storm, a place for Black women to gather, learn, and discuss our Black female nerddom. Find them at infromthestormzine.com or at In From the Storm on Facebook.
Hello, this is Chris Walken. And if you've got a hankering for more cowbell, you can get it on The Week in Geek. Come on.
Welcome back in to The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I am your host, D Squared. Now, as always, I want to strongly urge you to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Week in Geek. Check out our website or not at twigradio.com, but definitely follow us on Twitter at Twig Radio and the Instagram's The Week in Geek. Hey, Scungy, how can people listen to this show?
Well, if you missed any part of tonight's show, or if you want to hear Dave yell at me again for no apparent reason, you can always find us on Stitcher or download Stitcher for your smartphone and tablet. We're also on Spreaker, YouTube's Google Play, iTunes, and that wonderful iHeartRadio app.
Scungy's Pick of the Week.
I am not what you would call a handsome man.
I love lamp. I love lamp.
Scungy's Pick of the Week.
He might be an idiot savant.
Scungy, what's shaking, Bacon? How you been, man? I yell at you for reasons. Reasons. I don't know what they are, but they're reasons.
Exactly, they are. You always yell at me and you hurt me, but I still come back.
Yeah,
because I love
up.
you.
Yeah, all right. What are we talking about this week, man?
So we're talking about you gotta catch them all. They're the Pokemans.
Oh, dear God. Oh, my God.
So, yeah, the new Pokemon Legends Arceus game just came out. Now, I'll tell you right now, I was never on the boat of Pokemon. I never got on that ship. I never really never really been a fan of the Pokemon. Now, I get it. I 100% understand it. Pokemon has been a game that's been around for 25 years now. It was a collectible card game that turned into a video game that is probably one of the most popular franchises, or as I like to say, Nintendo's license to print their own money.
Yeah.
So the Pokemon game has always been a turn-based RPG about sending wildlife rats to fight each other and then collect that rat as it has been, defeated, and then locking it into a ball and then using it and forcing it to fight in your weird fight club.
I see nothing wrong with that statement. Yes, continue.
So this particular game, No Legends Are, now I've played a couple of Pokemon games and they are fun. It's just, I just never really got into, there's so many different Pokemon now.
Yeah, I liked Pokemon Go. That was kind of fun, because I was doing the Harry Potter thing where you walk around and and that real life Pokemon Go stuff. It was pretty nifty, it was something fun to do. And when Dean and I would just take our walks, he'd be like, "Hey, give me your phone, old man," and and then he'd start hunting Pokemon, So I get it. I mean, look, it ain't my cup of tea, but look, it's a lot of people's cups of tea, though.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, Go actually opened it up to so many, a whole new generation, a whole new people who never touched Pokemon and everything. And I actually started playing Go, and I played a fair amount of it. Well, this actually will feel a little bit, it's different, and that's what I like about this one. This is completely different than any Pokemon that's come in the past. This is not your traditional turn-based RPG. It does have RPG in it, but it's action. It's a semi-open world game that is set in the origins of the Pokemon world. You're playing a character who gets basically, you're back in time, and you are going through and creating the first Pokedex. And you're compiling that all together in this semi-open world that you can get the Pokemon by doing a traditional. You can just toss a Pokeball at them and catch them. You can use one of your Pokemon to fight them to get them, which is the traditional way would be to fight the Pokemon and get them their health down and then capture them.
Beat them down and then subdue. It's a submission fight.
Exactly. It's the way it's always been. Or you can toss an item to distract them, and then while they're distracted, use a Pokeball. But it's not like before you'd walk through a Pokemon game and you'd walk in the tall grass and all of a sudden a random encounter, like in traditional RPGs. Oh, here's a Pokemon. You saw a wild Pikachu. Well, these you actually see the Pokemon in the world, and they will react to you. Some of them will sit there and come right up to you and going, "Hi, how are you doing?" Some of them will run away. Some of them say, "Oh, look, something I can trample."
Nice.
So you literally have to dodge away sometimes from these Pokemon. And it's really, really cool that they've changed that format so you're not just doing a boring random encounter. Now, when you get to the fight system, it does have that traditional turn-based RPG where you throw a Pokeball out and that Pokemon's going to go and attack them. But they made it a little bit faster paced than they did in the previous ones. It seems to just go by a lot quicker because you're going to be battling a lot, and it doesn't have as much of a grind in that, and I really like that.
Okay, that's cool.
The thing is, this reminds me a little bit of a game called Monster Hunter in the grind of it, because with this Pokedex that you've always gotten in every single game where you're like, "Hey, fill out your Pokedex so you can say, I caught the Pikachu, I caught a Squirtle or whatnot." Well, this one, you're starting that Pokedex. So when you catch a Pokemon, there are many different tasks or quests that you need to go on to fill it out. And that could be as simple as you need to catch 10 of this Pokemon, or you need to watch this Pokemon do this move so many times. So you're constantly going to be grinding and catching Pokemon and fighting them and whatnot. It's not going to be like, "Hey, I'm going from point A to point B." No, you can stay in this one area for a while doing a lot of stuff.
So if you need to marinate your Squirtle longer, then you would need to say a braised Pokemon rib or something like that. Okay, I got you.
Exactly. And through this, you get to actually evolve them through that in the menus. So it's really, it's an interesting new thing. Now, one thing that I'm going to kind of, the world, the semi-open world, instead of using the word open, let's use empty.
Okay, explain.
Because there's really, they have the Pokemon running around, but it's very uninspiring. There's just nothing going on in this open world. There's like no like landmarks. There's no like, oh, let's do this side quest, or let me look at this piece of architecture. It's just a very bland world, which is really weird coming out of Nintendo because they've had so many open world, like with Zelda. It's just the world is alive, and this one, it just seemed very, very dull.
Well, the Pokemon need room to, like free-range chickens, free-range Pokemon. You can't coop them up in the ball all the time. They need some Lebensraum.
Yeah, exactly. But it just, like I said, that part of it just was very disappointing. But I do like that they've done something new with the series. I like that they've done that. It falters a little bit on that, but the game has got a good 30 hours of gameplay.
Dang.
And then when you beat it, there's another 30 to 40 hours of gameplay to get the real ending.
Okay.
So, if this is a good launch point for people who are not used to Pokemon, and that's what I like about it. It might not be the best Pokemon game that's been out there, but it's a good entry point because, like I said, it's an origins of what's going on in the Pokemon world. You're learning about a lot of new, different Pokemon and some of the traditional ones, and it's a little bit more action-paced, a little bit more fast-paced than some of the previous ones. So it's pretty fun.
20 years now it's been out. It's like an entire generation of people. So, yeah, it makes sense. Every now and again, I hesitate to use the word reboot, but maybe repackage or refresh for new people and a next generation of people to just fork over their money every time they see see Pikachu on a pillow. Take my money, please.
Dude, Pokemon merchandise is some of the most hottest selling merchandise in the world. But yeah, you said it. You said it exactly. Just like a reinventing of it for a next generation.
So, all right. Well, then, price and platform, sir.
Well, it is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, and it is $60.
Okay. How much room does it take up? Because that's what I'm curious about. Because so Dean, my 8-year-old, he's got a Switch now, and when he would borrow his brother's, he could only have Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild on it. That was it. You couldn't hold anything else. Can you have other games on it, like Fortnite per se, and the new Pokemon game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It doesn't take up a massive amount of space. It's not like Smash Brothers with all the DLC characters or Breath of the Wild, which are two of the biggest games on the system. No, this one's decent. I think it's maybe 10 gigs or so.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. So, hey, before we wrap up this segment, you wanted to talk about the stupidity of Marvel's Zombies and the Kickstarter game with Simon. What's up with that now?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, we did a review of the new Marvel Zombies Zombicide game Kickstarter from Simon that hit Kickstarter. Well, it funded this week. It funded at being probably the highest one that they've ever done. It was over $6 million for their thing. But I want to say I called it. Their pledge levels, the highest pledge level was like $615.
God. That's insanity.
For one board game. It's expansions, too, but one board game.
It's a lot of minis, though. I mean, look, Warhammer 40K fans, who've given away their life savings for their miniature army. Maybe that's what's going on here.
And this one, you don't have to put them together. They're already pre-made, so that's cool. But, yeah they added a Fantastic Four, a Sinister Six, a Sentinel, Guardians of the Galaxy, a Hydra expansion. All these different expansions they added, plus on top of that stupid huge Galactus miniature. You can't say miniature; it's 32 inches tall. But yeah, so it's like I backed the $240 one, and I'm gonna go back in the pledge manager and upgrade it, but not to the Galactus. I'm doing the $400 one.
Well, it's your money, sir. It's your money. Do what you will with it. But so does each miniature? Like, there's a living version and then the zombie version, or do they just like pick and choose?
For the most part. Okay. For the most part, there is. So, but the thing is, some of them are only Kickstarter exclusive. So, that's the thing. If you buy the game Marvel Zombies at retail, you're only going to get, maybe 8 zombies, 8 heroes. You back it into Kickstarter, you're going to get boxes and boxes and boxes of extra stuff. It's very much worth it if you want to do that. If you just want the base game, to buy it later, it'll be $100.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I can't imagine what you would do with all those miniatures, though. So, I don't know. You just
play with them.
I didn't see you playing with your dolls, sir. Oh, my God. All right, so that's going to do it. All right, Scungy, look, I guess thank you, and don't spend all your money on Marvel Zombies, I guess.
Too late.
Well, that was going to be the moral of the story, but that's not it. All right, when we come... You're not fired this week, Scungy. Good job. Look, I didn't fire you, so enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right, coming up next, Greg Brennecka, author of Impact, How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. That's a lot of questions that I'm now saddled with. So Greg Brennecka is going to talk to us about space rocks. Coming up next, right here on The Week in Geek with D Squared on iHeartRadio.
Show you some dance moves. No, I don't want you to. If I had your giant feet out there on the beach, could have outrun those birds. You're a psycho wiener. Let me grab my beater.
Stop it, please.
There is nothing like quality when working with a business. That's why Banks Media Connections make sure that your work is done with class, professionalism, and style. Social media and marketing, IT work, videos, decals, documents, business cards, resumes, flyers, and presentations. Banks Media Connections has all of your media and clerical needs in mind. Contact me, Malcolm Banks, at 251-287-4854, or reach out to us on Facebook and Google. Banks Media Connections. If you have a need, we can help with speed.
D4 Tabletop Gaming Cafe at 8228 Oak Street wants to remind you that they are open for business. Tables are available for your next game night. Also, the Adventurers League is still running on Fridays at 7 p.m. and Magic the Gathering drafts are still on Saturdays at 1. So come over and check out their expanded inventory of miniatures and miniature paints, board games, RPGs, and TCGs. Find them on Facebook at D4 Tabletop Gaming Cafe or stop by the shop at 8228 Oak Street, just 2 blocks off of Carrollton. Or go to their website at d4cafe.biz.
My name is Optimus Prime, and you are listening to the...
Starscream here, and you are listening to The Week in Geek. Call me Lord.
Welcome back into The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I am your host, D Squared. Let's go to the guest line. The new book that is out now, Impact, How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. That's a big title, and you just threw it out there, and the author, Greg Brennecka, joins us. How do you get to Donkey Kong from meteorites, Greg?
Well, it is a big title, you're right. We get Donkey Kong because we wouldn't have electronics if it wasn't for meteorites. So, it's not just Donkey Kong, it's all your favorite Nintendo games, I guess, and your cell phones and computers.
So is that where we get some of the extra stuff from space? I mean, let me bring it back. Let's talk about the book though first. Impact: How Rocks from Space Led to This. What did you want to accomplish with this book? Is this kind of like a tell-all, or like what is the book?
The book is just kind of a way for the general audience, so people that don't study meteorites, to get a feeling for why they're so important to Earth as a system. Starting from how it formed, the things that were delivered to Earth from meteorites, and also how it's changed history. Meteorites have had a huge influence on various religions and various cultures. They've started and stopped wars. It's just remarkable how much influence meteorites have actually had on the planet as well as humans. So that's kind of the goal, just to kind of tell everyone who doesn't study this stuff about why they're such an important thing that we've had over the course of the planet.
Now, one of the things I found interesting was the composition of meteorites, but also I'm curious though, when the meteorites or meteor hit Earth and the dinosaurs were here, is it because the Earth is flat, it hit on the edge and just sort of flipped the dinosaurs off? And is it heavier because of the potassium feldspar? Is that what it was?
You know what? I'm not going to get into the flat Earth thing. I'll leave that one be. But you know, it's definitely a theory. It's a theory. But no, it was you know, a pretty big deal for the meteorites, or excuse me, pretty big deal for the dinosaurs when that meteorite hit. You know, definitely kind of wiped them off the planet. But you know, at the same time, on the bright side, it helped the mammals out because we were able to, you know, develop and you know, turn into humans as part of that. So. I guess it helped us out a lot.
Now, one of the other things that I read that you were a part of the solar system forensic team. Is that kind of like CSI in space, though? But in all seriousness, like you're going, when you get these samples that fall from heaven, you go through these, and they're like little time capsules, right? I mean, talk about the solar system forensic team, man.
Yeah, the reason we call it that is because basically we're kind of, you know, you think of the formation of the solar system as a crime, maybe, if you want to look at it that way, and we're trying to figure out what happened. And like you mentioned, as time capsules, these rocks, most of them, meteorites, have never been melted. So there are certain types that have, but a lot of the types that my group studies, we look at the most primitive meteorites that basically formed 4.5 billion years ago at the very start of the solar system, and they've never been melted. So they basically just encapsulate all the material and the information that was happening from that, you know, initial collapse of our molecular cloud as we were starting to form the sun and planets. So that's kind of why we look at it as a forensics exercise, is because we're trying to figure out what happened.
Well, two questions from that then. How do you get these samples besides them falling out of the sky, but also I mean, how do you, I mean, is it carbon dating to figure out how how old these are? How do you know how old they are?
So we do something similar to carbon dating. Carbon dating only works up until a certain point, so it only goes back a couple thousand years. There's other types that are, you know, kind of similar. There's radioactive dating of different types of elements. So yes, it's definitely on the right track of carbon dating, but with different element systems is how we determine the time scales involved. Yeah.
So now you're going to be working with NASA, the OSIRIS-REx mission, where they're going to try to take samples from an asteroid. How do you start with the information that provides? What do you do with that information? Because I'm kind of astounded by this, because also NASA's DART mission, I want to get into that too. But where do you start from to start to analyze, and what do you do with the information?
Well, it's kind of cool because, you know, the asteroid that OSIRIS-REx, the NASA mission you're mentioning, is going to, we have kind of chunks of similar material in the form of meteorites, but of course they landed on Earth and have been slightly contaminated by Earth and stuff. So I like to think of this as a mission kind of going to the meteorite, which is really exciting, because then we, you know, basically collect it, encapsulate it, and bring it back to Earth. And then we can, everything we study, we know is basically from space, and we don't have that kind of question of if this is something that was, you know, contaminated from its time on Earth or not. You know, so that's kind of really awesome in the way I look at things. But, you know, the way we do it is, you know, you kind of make a plan, especially with something so precious as a sample that we went up and collected, to try to, you know, do the things first that don't destroy anything, imaging, things like that. And then we kind of go further and further, because you know, you end up having to destroy some of the sample when you do some of these types of studies.
We're visiting with Greg Brennecka. His new book, Impact, is out now. How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. And NASA's DART mission, you look, you know, that Netflix movie that just came out, Don't Look Up. The NASA's DART mission is, in essence, kind of what we've seen, like the movies Armageddon, etc., where they're going to try to knock an asteroid out of its orbit or its trajectory. Talk a little bit about that, because this is like a practice run on just some poor little asteroid who's minding its own business. We're going to go punch him in the head, right?
Yep, that's exactly what it is. This is exactly that. It's a practice mission in case we find something that's on an Earth-crossing orbit. So if you know, we've got a lot of telescopes and smart people that are kind of looking up and seeing if there's something that's going to cross our path and cause us some damage. If we find that is the case, then we probably want to do something about it. And this DART mission that you mentioned is exactly a practice for that, is to see how well we can redirect an asteroid.
So like how do we do that though? Is it simply by just nudging it? That, I mean, obviously that'll change the trajectory. But I mean, like, is there a big bada boom or an earth shaking kaboom? I was promised an earth shaking kaboom.
You like the explosions, yeah?
I do.
Well, it really kind of depends on how much time we have. If we've got, you know, 3-6 months, like in the case of Don't Look Up, then yeah, we're kind of restricted to military options where you get what you want. There's a big boom. But if we've got 10 years, for example, then we can do a lot more passive adjustments. You can kind of nudge it with gravity, basically, by parking a spacecraft next to it, and then the meteorite or the asteroid will just kind of gravitate towards the spacecraft. So then we've got 10 years, and we can make some adjustments that way.
I like it. Greg Brennecka is our guest. The new book, Impact, is out now. Going back to what you said when we first brought you on, you were talking about how meteorites, et cetera, has sort of impacted Earth's history, where like major pivotal figures throughout history have looked up and been like, oh, it's a sign, even though we know now that it was just a rock flying through space. But you talk a lot about that in the book. Talk about, the big figures that have, had their life changed by looking to the stars.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a wide variety of people through history that have had their lives changed. And I think a lot of people look at religions, and I find it really interesting is how religions have been changed by meteorites and meteorite impacts and things like this. And, many listeners may be familiar with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that were allegedly destroyed. They thought this was something that God was doing to punish them. And actually, these may have been actually from a meteorite airburst, and these cities may have been destroyed by that. So there's a lot of these instances in which, kind of these inflection points in religion that I find really fascinating from natural events from the cosmos.
Now, Greg, one final thing before I let you go. You talked about the things not melting. Sometimes they'll land like in polar ice caps, etc. And all I could think about is like in the book, you talk about how there's important things like amino acids and things that have landed in the ocean to create life. Some of these non-frozen things, when we pull it out, are we worried that maybe we'll get like John Carpenter's The Thing popping out, or Venom, some weird symbiote that's just going to conquer the world if we thaw it out? Wouldn't it be best to just leave it alone?
I would disagree with that. I think nobody in the field really believes that life is existing in meteorites. They deliver ingredients, and that's about as far as we can go for what they actually give us. So unfortunately, no Venom type characters that we found any evidence for. But I don't think anybody that studies meteorites is too worried about that. I think they'd be pretty excited if we found anything close to that.
Well, Greg, I look forward to seeing your new TV series, CSI in Space, as you go through all these rocks, man. Look, congratulations on the new book, Impact, How Rocks from Space Led to Life, Culture, and Donkey Kong. Thank you so much for your time today, man. I'm a big nerd. I love me some science, man. So thank you for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. Well, that's a bummer. I thought maybe we'd get John Carpenter's The Thing, or maybe a Venom or some sort of symbiote that would, I don't know, just start, trying to take over the Earth. But oh well. I hope I wasn't too hard on him, because the book is actually kind of humorous. So I went kind of like a goofy sort of interview with the NCIS in space, or CSI in space. Take your pick. It's the same thing, like a crime drama. But I mean, he's got a lot of cool little anecdotes in that book, Impact, where King Tut was buried with a meteorite dagger, and I'm just whacking the microphone. So there was a lot of cool little anecdotal things in there. A lot of it's kind of funny. And I think, if they're sneaky about giving you education and information, and they do it in a fun way, you might not realize that you're learning something. So, I think that's kind of what he did with this book. So, but it was a fun read. So if you're into space rocks and stuff, go check out Impact. All right. So coming up next, the one, the only, the beautiful, the daring Gina Gershon is going to join us. Her new movie, Rifkin's Festival, with Wallace Shawn. Inconceivable. It's a new Woody Allen flick, and look, it's really, really good. And so we talked with Gina. I have to bleep her a few times, but it's a fun interview. She lays down the smacketh on her old agents who told her not to do Bound. And I lay the smack down on friends of mine from college who told me not to watch Bound because they said it was a chick flick. I'm still mad about that. So that's coming up next right here on The Week in Geek with D Squared on iHeartRadio. Hey y'all, D Squared here, and I'm joined by a special guest, the Go Forblin, to bring you a special announcement. That's right. Go4 Games, your friendly neighborhood game shop since 2010, is moving to 4953 West Napoleon Avenue in the Napoleon Plaza. Keep up to date with the move and Go4 Blends Adventure on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Go4GamesNola and Go4GamesNola.com. What's that? Oh, he says he can't wait for you to see his new pick of location at 4953 West Napoleon Avenue.
ProSe Productions is a leading independent publisher on the cutting edge of new pulp and genre fiction today. At ProSe Productions, you'll find fiction featuring fast-paced action and adventure, larger-than-life protagonists, over-the-top characters, and tight yet extravagant plots. ProSe specializes in prose books, anthologies, audiobooks, and more. Go to prose-press.com to find our monthly release schedule and more info about our great titles. ProSe Productions is your first-rate publisher of new pulp fiction today.
Welcome back to The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. Don't forget you can listen to previous episodes on the iHeartRadio app at The Week in Geek Radio Show. Here's D Squared.
Welcome back into The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I'm your host, D Squared. Let's go to the guest line. Actress of TV, stage, and movies, and the new Woody Allen movie, Rifkin's Festival, which is out now. But also, you will see her picture or the movie poster from 1996 bound in pretty much 3 out of 5 gay bars across New Orleans. Gina Gershon joins us. Gina, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. You know, my friends I'm G Squared.
Nice!
You're D Squared. So, yeah, I'm the double G. I'm G Squared. That's my other name, too. So nice to meet you. I wish I was there in New Orleans with you. One of my favorite towns in the world.
No, it's home. It's home. And Mardi Gras is right down the road. So, Gina, let's talk about Rifkin's Festival. Nice. You and Wallace Shawn. It's like you make it a very unlikely couple in this movie. You could almost say it's inconceivable. But talk to me about Rifkin's Festival. I'm here all week. Try the meal.
Yeah, it's like, it's not too hard. Everyone's got to put the inconceivable when they say Wally. It's, I think they're actually kind of a very nice couple. You know, they've been together for quite some time. It's about a married couple, Sue, me, and Wally plays Mort, and she's a publicist, and she's going to represent her brilliant young French director, Louis Garrel, in San Sebastian, which, oh my God, next to New Orleans. It's the same problem. Whenever I work in New Orleans, I'm like, oh, my God, my character, I guess they should be like 5 pounds heavier than I am right now. It's the same as San Sebastian because the food there is insanely delicious. But anyway, they go to the festival, and he's stuck. He's a guy who's been writing a book. You know, he's brilliant, and she falls in love with these brilliant men. But he's been stuck for a long time, and he's gotten kind of depressed and kind of, he complains a lot, and, you know, you see the world through his vision of, he's going through a philosophical sort of dilemma, you know, so he fantasizes with some of our great filmmakers, you know, Truffaut, Fellini, Godard, and
that's what I thought was really cool. Was kind of like they'd have like not flashbacks, but he would recall dreams, and that was something that it's like a cinephile's dream, where it's like it's a callback to all the classic Hollywood genres and films.
Yeah, I mean, listen, some of my favorite, Bergman is one of my all-time favorites. And when I thought, oh wow, I get to reenact these Bergman scenes in a Woody Allen-esque way, come on, it was just so much fun. And Christoph Waltz, how great is Christoph Waltz in it?
Yeah,
when he does his Bergman film. But it's really, listen, Woody Allen has been around forever for a reason. You know, he understands the complexity of relationships, and he's a really funny guy. You know, and he tells them the humanity, the human side. It's funny, it's tragic, it's sad, it's all those things.
We're visiting with Gina Gershon. Rifkin's Festival is out now. Now, what are the things that I read somewhere that you had walked off from your agents back in '96 talking about Bound, where they urged you not to do it, but what was it about that character, that movie? And sidebar, did you know the Wachowski sisters were going to just be that huge coming up and change the cinematography landscape in Hollywood?
No, man. I mean, I was told I couldn't do that movie. I was coming off of Showgirls. They're like, oh, no, we're going to put you in big, huge movies and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you better put me in something that shows I could really act, because I thought Showgirls ain't going to be what you think it's going to be, in my mind anyway. Mm-hmm. And when I read Bound, I thought, wow, this is a brilliant script. I mean, everything was incredible. And they were like, no, it's first-time directors, and you're playing a lesbian. I'm like, okay, I want to meet these guys they were guys at the time, the Wachowskis. And the second I met them, I thought, wow, they're brilliant. I could just feel it. And they were telling me about Matrix then, because Bound was their first film. I just thought it was wonderful. I instinctively knew they were incredible. And yeah, my agents were like, we can't represent you. You're ruining your career by playing a lesbian. But at the time, you have to understand, actresses weren't really allowed to do that.
Right.
And I just thought, this is bullshit, I said, you know what? Oh, sorry.
No,
sorry.
It's okay. It's all good. I bleeped it. We're good.
I just thought it was a dumb and unfair and small-minded viewpoint to not play this brilliant character because she was a lesbian. I thought, well, I'll see you later. So I had to leave my agents. I was like, I'm doing this movie. And everyone's like, you're ruining your career. I'm like, well, I guess it's my career to do what I want. And I'm really proud of that film. I'm so happy that I did it. And of course, the Wachowskis turned out, I mean, they're incredible directors,
Yeah, right. When I first brought you on, I was kind of making a joke that your movie posters in 3 out of 5 gay bars, but like I was a music major in college, I was the token straight guy, and I still blame my friends to this day because when we would go out, I would see this poster. I'm like, what movie is that? They're like, oh, you don't want to watch that. It's just a chick thing. I'm like, wait, what? So I'm still mad because it took me 3 years before I got to watch that movie.
Oh my God, they would say it was a chick thing.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Those friends. No, it's a really brilliant film. I'm really pleased about it. And, you say you studied music in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, New Orleans, I played in New Orleans a few times.
Nice.
I played in some of those clubs. Yeah. I love it there. I love it there so much.
Gina Gershon is our guest. We got to wrap up here, but one quick thing. When is Borderlands coming out? Because I know you're working with Jamie Lee Curtis, and I had her on the show a while back. What do we got going on with Borderlands before we roll?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think we're going to do some reshoots. So I think we're going to extend a couple pieces. It's a big movie, and there's a lot of special effects. And it's like Kevin Hart and the great Kate Blanchett. It's such a wonderful cast. I don't think it's going to be, at least maybe in the summer, coming up in the summer, or I don't know how much. They have a lot more work to do because there's a lot of special effects on that. I'm excited. I'm super excited for that to come out. That was really fun. Isn't Jamie Lee, talk about the nicest people. I mean, Wallace Shawn is one of the nicest people. Jamie Lee, she's just like Miss Good. Isn't she the greatest?
Oh, my God. Look, she plays Warcraft with her kid, and I even got her to say this on the radio. It cracks me up.
For the Horde.
She's a Warcraft a mom, and she plays, the orcs for the Horde. Oh, it cracks me up every time. Gina, I got to let you go, but thank you so much for your time today, and I really do appreciate it. And keep up the great work, and everybody go see Rifkin's Festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I want to thank our guests, Greg Brennecka and, of course, Gina Gershon. And next week, we got Kofi Kingston from the WWE, The New Day. They're coming into town next week. Kofi Kingston, WWE, next week on The Week in Geek. As always, I want to strongly urge you to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Week in Geek. Follow us on Twitter @Twig Radio, the Instagram's The Week in Geek. And, of course, download the podcast wherever podcasts are freely given away. Download the free iHeartRadio app. Click subscribe. Never miss a pod. So, there you go. Till next time, keep your nerd flag raised high.
WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeart Radio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.